Hey guys, this is Mythik Max, and today I will be showing you how to run a Sengoku Samurai deck. This is one of the more complicated decks there is, just because some of the deployment conditions for the Mythics are rather complicated. This is also a slow defensive deck. So this is not a deck that you're going to win turn one with some super high offense. This is a very calculated, slow deck that just it just basically exhausts your opponent's resources until they can't do anything, or you get your win condition. So the Sengokus are, of course, based on feudal Japan. So we've got, like, for example, the legendary Samurai Musashi, who is one of the most powerful champions in the game. We've got the retainers, the Onabushi, and then some more famous characters like Takeda Shingen, Imagawa Yoshimoto, Uesugi Kenshin, and the ninja samurai Hattori Hanzo. And there's some more that I don't have on hand right now, but these are just some examples of the champions. And then the Sengokus do have mythic cards, which are the Divine Kamis. So we have Takeminakata, the air dragon, Ryujin, the water serpent, and then the queen of the Japanese gods, Amaterasu. And she's going to be our win condition. And she is deployed by basically getting these two in your field or grave. So we'll get to that in a little bit. So the first and most important part of this deck is you need a lot of defensive cards. So let me just run through the requirements. So Amaterasu is an extremely powerful card. So she's 15,000 attack and defense, which is Ra is attack 15,000, and he's a common enemy you might run into. She is deployed by shuffling all champions from your field or grave into the deck while both these Divine Kamis are on the field or grave. While this card is on the field, the powers of all opponents' mythics and generals are negated, and this card cannot be eliminated in battle by other mythics. So let's just say you had her and your opponent had Ra. She could defeat Ra. Even though they're the same attack, she negates his powers, and she can't be eliminated in battle. So if this were two regular cards with the same attack and they were both in attack stance, they would both kill themselves. But she would eliminate Ra, and she would still be here because she can't be eliminated by Mythic. So just an interesting thing. She trumps almost every card on the field. So again, to deploy her, we need all non-mythic champs. So a minimum of 4 champions in the field or grave plus these 2 cards. Now, what's important to note for all these is that their deployment requirements are from the field or grave, which means your deployment cards don't need to survive. So these cards also, to deploy her, these cards don't need to survive. So once you get this on the field, and then even if it gets destroyed, that's fine. So you just have to literally wait long enough until you get these in the field or grave to get Amaterasu. So how do we get these two? So Ryujin, this card is deployed by shuffling 4 fortifier cards and Sengoku Samurai Uesugi Kenshin from your field or grave into the deck. So where is Mr. Kenshin? Okay. So Ryujin needs this one specific card and 4 fortifiers. Now, Takeminakata needs 4 magic cards and Sengoku Samurai Takeda Shingen. So Shingen and then 4 magic cards. And again, none of these need to survive. You just need them to be in the grave or the field, if either way works. But these, you could get these on the field and then they get killed, and you could still bring out your mythics. So what's most important, because the magic and fortifier cards, they can be any magic or fortifier. So we just need to survive long enough to get enough in our hand. The main question is how to get these 2 cards, right? Because these are specific cards in our deck. So one of the best ways to do that is with Imagawa Yoshimoto. And in history, he was the one who sort of started the Japanese Civil War. And so he's the one who brings out other Sengoku champions. So Yoshimoto's power is when he's deployed, you can sacrifice any number of champions from your field to deploy a Sengoku champion from your hand or deck whose level is less than or equal to the combined level of the sacrifice champion plus 2. So basically, you can sacrifice himself. He's level 4, add 2, which means 6. You can then deploy a level 6 card from your deck. So he could use this on himself too. So let's say, so we don't have these out yet. Let's say these cards are in our deck. What we can do is, he's only level 4, so we can play him any turn, right? Because we gain 4 action points every turn. So we can spend 4 action points, deploy Imagawa Yoshimoto. He'll activate his power. He can sacrifice himself and deploy a level 6 Sengoku champion from your deck. So we could deploy Shingen. Probably in defense stance. So there's one. Hopefully you're running 3 of these. Now the other thing that you can do is there are some Sengoku general cards. So we have Hideyoshi, Oda Nobunaga, and the most important Sengoku Shogun, Tokugawa Ieyasu. Now what Tokugawa does is also acts as a searcher. So when this card is deployed, add 1 Sengoku card from your deck to your hand. So if you play Tokugawa in your general slot, you can add any Sengoku card to your hand. So you could add Uesugi, Kenshi, for example. If we already have Shingen, we need the other one. We'll add this guy to our hand. The other way of searching, now because Tokugawa is, if you can see that, he's a tier 3 rarity. So he is rare. He's very tough to come by. So plus he's a general, so you can only run 2. Now I will just add, if you run Imperial Levy, this is a card that searches generals, but that's not essential. So the other way to search for your specific Sengokus is Sengoku Tea Ceremony. This is a tier 2 card, so you can definitely get one of these in a booster box. And so this power is you choose one. So if you control a Sengoku champion, you can add a Sengoku general. Or if you control a general, you can add a champion. So let's say you only had Tokugawa. You could play Tea Ceremony and add a Sengoku champion to your hand. Or the other way around. If you only had Shingen, play Tea Ceremony, and because you control champion, you could add Tokugawa to your hand, and then then you could play him and search another card. So these 3 cards are your essential searchers. Imagawa Yoshimoto searches champion. Tea Ceremony searches the opposite of a champion or general, whichever one that you don't have. And then Tokugawa searches one time right on his deployment. He also protects your Sengoku champions from being eliminated, but his most important power is searching. So once you get these two, and again, they don't have to survive. So if you deploy them and eventually they get killed, that's totally fine, right? What you want to do is have a whole bunch of defensive cards. So hopefully you have a lot of fortifiers. For example, we could run an Iga smoke screen, which means Sengoku champions you control cannot be targeted for attacks this turn. So you can't even be attacked, right? Your Sengoku champions. Iga agent, which, just does damage, misinformed. So there's also, basically you want to run a whole bunch of fortifiers to protect yourself. Now, one amazing Sengoku champion for defense is Hattori Hanzo. So this card is considered a Sengoku Samurai card, but it's also considered an Iga card. And so when this card is deployed face up, deploy one Iga card from your deck face down. When this card is eliminated by by an opponent's champion, the champion who killed it is also eliminated. When this card's eliminated by a card power, you can deploy another Iga card face down. So this gives you a whole bunch of opportunities. If you deploy this card face up, deploy one Iga card from your deck face down. Now, so you could deploy, some Iga fortifiers, or because Hanzo is considered an Iga card, you could play another Hanzo face down. Not only that, but if this card is killed, but if this card is killed in battle, the card that killed it also dies. Or let's say your opponent, you're attacking with Hanzo. Your opponent comes out with a ballista, which kills an attack stance champion. That would be a card power, so this would get eliminated. But when it's eliminated, you can deploy an Iga card face down, so you could deploy another Hanzo. And this is just cycles on, and it's just an absolute nuisance. And it just basically it buys you time to get enough magic and fortifiers to deploy your mythic. So running a couple Hanzos because they can deploy each other's, you could even use this card in any deck, but for now we'll focus on pure Sengoku deck. So let's say we eventually get what do we need? 4 fortifier, right? So fortifiers, let's say we had all these, right? A couple turns go by, we use them. All these fortifiers go to the grave. Now we have 4 fortifiers and the card that we need on the field. So to get Ryujin, 4 fortifiers and Uesugi Kenshin. And again, it's field or grave, so it doesn't matter. So these are in the grave because we've used them. This guy could be on the field or he could have gotten killed. Doesn't matter. So now we shuffle these back into the deck, which is nice because then you can reuse them. So we deploy Ryujin by shuffling Kenshin, 4 fortifiers back into the deck. And the same thing would be for Shingen and Takeminakata. So let's say we use, let's say we've used an Imperial Levy. We could even discard 2 cards, which is its power, to deploy or add a general to our hands. We can play Oda Nobunaga, for example. We could use Tea Ceremony, which is another magic card. This would go to the grave. If we control a general, we could add a champion to our hands. We could add Kenshi to her hand, for example. Anyway, doesn't matter. Once we have 4 magic cards in the grave and Takeda Shingen, we do the same thing. Shuffle these 4 Shingen into the deck and bring out Divine Kami Takeminakata. And again, even these don't need to survive. So you could do the, right? Let's say you only got this one and then this one died and then finally you had enough to get this one and then you got him out and this one died. You're right. It doesn't matter. And as the time is going on, you probably have, let's say you've had some champions that have died in battle as the turns have gone on. So these will end up in the grave. Now, let's look at our requirements to get Amaterasu. So it's shuffling all champions, minimum 4. So at least 4 champions from your field or grave, and that's super easy to do, especially if you're using searching, right? If you've used Imagawa to search and then he dies, so that's pretty easy. 4 champions, field or grave, and then both of the other Divine Kamis, again, field or grave. So even if all these guys have died, right? You can then bring out Amaterasu. So both of the Divine Kamis, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So that's more than 4, and for Amaterasu, it does say we need to shuffle. Shuffle all of them into the deck. So this whole stack goes back to the deck. So the Mythics will go back to their Mythik slot. And out comes Divine Kami Amaterasu, who is pretty much unstoppable. Right? She trumps Ra in battle because she can't be eliminated by Mythics. She also trumps Hades. Now, right, Hades can bring out, his attack can get into the tens of thousands, right? So if he deploys a whole bunch of equipped champions that make it, let's say his attack is, 45,000. Even if he comes out, Amaterasu's power is that opponent's mythic powers and the powers of their generals are negated. So even if he came out with 45,000 attack, that's because of his power. They would be negated, so he would be 0. So Amaterasu can beat 2 of the most powerful mythics in the game. And again, it's not super difficult to get her out. You just have to survive long enough to get your magic and fortifiers and all those cards in the grave. So this is a very defense-heavy deck. You just want to screw up your opponent and just survive long enough to get your other commies. And then once you do that, that's pretty much it. I mean, she's really almost unstoppable. So that is how you play a Sengoku deck if you're planning to use the Kamis, the Divine Kamis. If you guys have any questions, please feel free to comment or join our Discord and chat with me or the community, and we'd be happy to help you out. Thank you guys for watching.